Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Saturday, it is match day, first Premier League game of the season coming up very, very soon at the Emirates. Arsenal versus Leeds, kicking off at 5:30 p.m. this evening. As you can see, I'm all ready. It's not going to be too long till I hotfoot it out of this house and make my way up to the ground. Not in the press box today, as you can tell. I'm sitting with my dad, so going to be in and around the stadium for a good few hours before the game. Can't wait for it. Head up, watch Manchester City versus Spurs, sort of get the day going, and then heading over to the stadium. Of course, we're going to preview the game in today's show. Of course, we are. We're going to look at predicted 11, all that sort of stuff. Look at what Arteta's been saying, team news-wise. Got loads of questions and comments from you guys, as always, to get stuck into towards the end of the show. We're going to talk about Eze, because why not? Let's always talk about Eze. Every day we should make a rule about talking about Eze. And yeah, brilliant. It would be so good if they unveil him before the game today. It really, really would. Imagine the stadium. It will be bouncing pre-match, if you will, Eze out to a sort of 60,000 Arsenal fans before the game. Imagine it'll blow the roof off. So we can talk about him. We're going to look at what Mikel's been saying in a press conference, the embargoed section. Some interesting comments from him about the size of the squad and the state of the squad right now after the business that has been done this summer. So lots and lots to get stuck into. And we'll start with those quotes from Mikel. You might not have seen them yet. They were in the embargoed section, so they went live at 10:30 p.m. last night. And I thought they were really, really interesting in terms of how happy he is with the work that's been done this summer, the state of the Arsenal squad. He was asked if this is the most complete squad he's had. And he said, in terms of numbers and qualities, yes, for sure. We have a really good balance of players, versatility, the understanding of those roles, the mixture between experience and youth, the ambition. I am very happy with what we have. We try to do everything in every department to have the best possible resources with the best people. And that's what we try to do when it comes to the transfer market. He was also asked about the sort of excess of players that he has right now, because he does have an excess of players, no doubt about it. The squad is so big, it's bursting at the seams. There are plenty of players who are not going to get many minutes at all and need to go between now and the end of the window. So he was asked about that. And he said, when you shake the tree and bring in more players, there are always things that can happen. But the spirit of that is to be more competitive, to be better and learn from the past. And with the squad we had last year, we made life very, very difficult for ourselves, because if you look at the size and depth of other squads and the resources they had, we wanted that at least and more. We wanted to be in a place where we feel very comfortable, the right level of competition in the team, but as well the right characters in the right roles and how those roles are going to change. I think we are in a very good place. I thought those were really interesting comments from Mikel, and I think he's right. You know, it's undoubtedly the best squad that Arsenal have had, certainly under him. It's the best squad of Arsenal I can remember for, well, back to the glory years, basically. When you look at this, obviously you can always have one more. You always want one more. I'd love one more. I'd love another striker to cover for Kai Havertz while he's injured. But when you actually look at the squad depth, you look at the players in those positions, the experience, the mixture, as he said, of youth and experience, it's just a really good, balanced squad. So I'm not surprised he's very, very happy with it. There was also some interesting comments from him about how the work that's been done. He wants Arsenal to be leading, throughout the season. I haven't got the quotes to hand, but I thought they were really, really interesting. It was like, we don't just want to be in the middle. We don't want to be chasing. We want to be leading. So, talking about that's why a lot of the business has been done early. They're strong and they're ready to go this season. And when you've got the start of the season that Arsenal had, I think you absolutely had to be ready to go. So I thought it was really good stuff from Mikel last night. If you haven't seen all the quotes, they're knocking about. You can go and find them all. But understandably, a very happy manager when it comes to the squad depth at the moment. And it's a squad that's going to get very, very strong, even stronger very, very soon with the addition of Eze. Now, as I said at the start, I would love it if they wheeled him out on the pitch at the start of the game today. Obviously, he needs to be announced before they can do that. The media's done. I know he'd done the media yesterday. He was at Colney yesterday afternoon. He's done interviews and all that sort of stuff. I think there's a certain other player who left Crystal Palace to join Arsenal who is involved in those interviews, which is no big surprise. So he's done all that. It just depends. If every little last bit of paperwork is finished and they can announce it before the game, then definitely they've got to bring him out. Can you imagine the noise already? Everyone's going to be up for it. Everyone's going to be buzzing. And then you bring Eze out at like 5:25 just before the players come out. I mean, the roof will blow off the stadium. It will be so hyped up. The atmosphere will be bouncing for pre-match. It would be absolutely fantastic if they could do that. Obviously, when Mikel was speaking about him yesterday in the sort of the live section of the press conference, Arsenal, you know what you're going to get from Mikel. He's not going to talk about players. He said nothing to comment on. I can never talk about anything that's not part of the group or club yet. But then he was asked about, how important is it to get a sense of a player that wants to be at Arsenal. I did, by the way, before I get to this, laugh at Thomas Frank's comments yesterday in the Tottenham press conference of, if a player doesn't want to play for us and wear this beautiful badge, not sure it's beautiful, then we don't want him here. It's like, yeah, right, Thomas. I think you wanted him there, mate. I really think you did. But in terms of how important it is to get the sense a player wants to be at Arsenal, he said that's number one, that they want to be with us, that they feel something special coming to us, then the person, what personality we're going to bring, and the rest comes with it. I think we've done that very, very well in the last few years to create a group of players and the spirit in the team. Eze's a very good character, and I know that Mikel's been given glowing reports from several of the sort of England boys in terms of what sort of guy Eze is. Arsenal really do their homework on that, and the sort of character and personality of these players. When asked if it's better if they grew up supporting Arsenal like Eze does, he said, the better the feeling, the stronger the feeling. I think the better always, because it brings a different edge, a different will and emotion to what you do. I think that always brings something extra. So let's see. By the time you're watching this or listening to this, who knows? He might have been announced as an Arsenal player. If it does happen before the game, then please do bring him out of the stadium. I was talking yesterday to my mate Mark. Actually, it was on the FPL show that we put out for Inside Arsenal Patreon members. When was the last time? I can remember them doing it for Robin van Persie after he'd signed. We brought him out on the pitch before a game at Highbury. I just remember I was there. I just remember him wearing these dodgy pair of jeans. But I can't really remember anyone else it happening to. Obviously, they did it with Gyökeres over in the pre-season tour. But in terms of Arsenal before a game at home, I can only really think of Robin van Persie as an example when they brought a newly signed player out on the pitch to sort of wave to the crowd and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully they do it today. It would be great. As I said, the place would be absolutely bouncing for it. Team news-wise, ahead of today, the good news, obviously, from training yesterday is that Jurrien Timber was involved in that training session. I'm fully expecting Jurrien Timber to start. As I said yesterday, from my understanding, Ben White is being troubled by a hamstring injury at the moment. Mikel was talking about him in the press conference yesterday. I'll have a look at those quotes in a minute. He didn't absolutely rule Ben White out, but I'd be very, very surprised if Ben White is involved today. But everyone looked happy in training yesterday, which is obviously good to see. On Ben White and Norgard, Mikel said Christian won't be in the squad with Ben. Let's see how he reacts, and then what side. Christian will be out for another week or so. On managing Jurrien Timber and Gabriel Jesus as well, when he was asked about Jesus's recovery, he said, on Jurrien, we have to manage his load. He's been out a long time again, and he comes from a long-term injury before that. We had a long week. We have to manage the load on that. So we decided to take him out of training a little bit, especially that day in the open session. Gabby Jesus is doing well. I think he looks in a really good place. Obviously, it's a massive injury, and we need to come from that in a really strong way, but certainly he's in the right place and making very strong strides. So no Norgard today. He is still out. Mikel's saying they'll wait and see how Ben White reacts, but I'd be surprised again if certainly I've been told it's a hamstring issue that he's struggling with. I don't know the extent of it, if it's just a tight hamstring or if it's worse than that. If it's a tight hamstring, obviously he might have recovered in time this week, but you kind of feel like White with any sort of hamstring injury, you're just not gonna risk it. And there's obviously a very, very big game at Liverpool to come next week. So I'd be surprised if White is involved in the game. So this is my predicted 11 that I have gone for today's game. So I've only made one change. I was really wrestling with the left wing position, Madueke or Martinelli. It wouldn't shock me if it's Madueke, if they bring him in for this game, but I've stuck with Martinelli. And this is predicting what Mikel will do. I would play Madueke today if it was me. But I think Mikel will probably stick with Gabby for it. So I think he's going to go with Raya in goal, obviously. I think he'll go Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori. So just the one change from the starting back four against United last week. And then from then I'm going the same team as at United. So Zubimendi, Odegaard, Rice, Saka, Gyökeres and Martinelli. So that's what I'm predicting he'll do. In terms of the team that I would go for, I think I would pretty much go for this team, but I would bring in Madueke for it. I think Madueke's been signed for these sort of games. I don't think Martinelli's been in great form at all throughout the summer. He wasn't great last week. No one was great last week, but I would be very, very tempted to give Madueke a run out from the start in this game, I have to say. So that's the 11 that I would like to see. It would just be basically what you're looking at on screen, but with Madueke for Martinelli. But I think predicting what Mikel's going to do, I think he'll stick with Martinelli, and the only change from the team against Man United will be Timber coming in for the injured Ben White. Right, let's move on to some of your questions and comments now, shall we? Brandon here has got in touch and says, with the addition of Eze, along with the other attacking options we've signed this summer, to go along with our all-league best defence, do you think it's time for Arteta to release the handbrake more and lean into the late 90s and early 2000s Wenger ball? We had great defences and attack. Anthony Gunner. Oh, another Gunner was just born, by the way, a baby born on baby boy on Tuesday of this week. Congratulations, Brandon, on the new arrival. I'm sure everyone watching and listening to this video will pass on their congratulations to you as well. Hope everyone is well. Another Gunner born on the planet. Well, fantastic news. Do we go full on Wenger, throwing on 5 strikers in every single game like he used to do back in the day? I feel Arteta is just a little bit too structured for that. But look, we've got the options now, and that's the thing. He can change absolutely everything with these players that he's got now. He can change the style of play. He can change completely the look of the attack. You can have Martinelli on the left, or you can have Madueke on the left. You can have your natural left footer who can stretch the opposition wide, or if you want to bring in Eze, you can play someone who's going to come inside more into those central areas and link up with Martin Odegaard. You can change things so much, and we haven't had that option. He's basically got the same attack as he had last season, plus Madueke, Gyökeres and Eze. So much strength there, so many different options there. So it's just fantastic that we've actually got ourselves into this position with the squad. Max says, I'm concerned about the fitness of White and Timber this season. With the possibility of Mosquera playing serious right-back minutes, I think we hold on to Kivior for centre-back cover this season, or at least until January. It's a very, very fair point. I mean, this season, again, has started kind of as last season went on, with the ongoing sort of issues of, is Timber going to be fit? Is White going to be fit? We having a sort of rest one during training to make sure that the other one's fit because the other one's injured. It's not ideal. Fingers crossed it doesn't continue like this the whole season, and they both can get back to fitness. It's a real shame Ben White has this hamstring issue, because he's looked really, really good and really, really solid during the summer. But yeah, I mean, in terms of holding on to Kivior, absolutely. I don't. People sort of mistake me for saying that I want to sell Kivior. I don't. I absolutely want to keep Kivior and have the best, strongest squad possible. But when I mention him as a possible sale, I'm just trying to sort of look at it from a realistic viewpoint of Arsenal need to sell. They need to bring in some money. He's probably the most sellable player in terms of decent value in the squad right now, and he's a player who wants to play, and let's face it, barring injuries, is not going to play that much this season. I think it's very, very clear, and as a result of that, his value is going to go down. So if they do sell him, and I'm not saying I want them to, but if they do, I can understand why they will, if you see what I mean. Doc says, what's the rush to sell players? Even if we need to sell for UEFA financial stability rules compliance, it does not need to be until next season. We need Kivior. We may even need to call upon Vieira and Zinni. It's still a baller. What's the rush to sell players that give us depth? Again, there's no rush, but I also think, and Arteta talked about it there, when you shake the tree and bring in new players, sometimes things happen as a result of that. There's too big a squad is not a good thing. It is absolutely not a good thing, because you cannot keep everyone happy. Pep talks about it a lot. We've had Slot talking about it this week. Nothing good from having nothing good comes from having too big a squad. Having a big squad is great. Having too big a squad, problems just arise, because you have unhappy players that you cannot satisfy with minutes. And when you have unhappy players around the squad constantly going into training every single day, knowing they're not going to play, it just ultimately ends up becoming disruptive, because you have unhappy players, things start to filter out. We've had it at Arsenal before when we've had unhappy players who haven't been playing. Understandably, they get annoyed. And then they start talking to people, and then things start seeping out of the club, and you almost get in this sort of mole situation when agents then start talking and trying to destabilize things. Having too big a squad doesn't work. Look at what happened to Chelsea. Look at the state they're in. They're beginning to sort it out now, but when they had too big a squad, they had players who couldn't get changed in the changing room, you start getting leaks and unhappy players. Nothing good comes from it. So there's no rush to sell players, but I think you have to have a squad that is the sort of optimum size, and I just don't think this squad is. I think there's too many. I think if we keep it as is, there'll be too many unhappy players, and I don't think that'll work out in the long run. Who's coming up next? James on the Discord says, "Hey Charles, with the signing of Eze, Do you think it's likely we will now see Ethan go out on loan, say in the January window? This is interesting. Now, in my season predictions I did with James Benge on Inside Arsenal Extra Time, we chose one wild Arsenal prediction for the season, and mine was that Ethan goes out on loan in January. It just wouldn't surprise me if that is the case. I mean, a lot depends on how many minutes he gets in the first half of the season, but if he's not getting that many minutes, then, he signed a big new long-term contract. I think it would be, if he's really, really not getting any minutes and it doesn't look like he's going to get many minutes in the second half of the season and everyone's fit and healthy, I wouldn't be totally against it. I wouldn't love it. I'd rather he stuck around. But if, at his age, he really needs to be playing a lot now to start continuing to develop at the rate he's developing. He's too good to be sitting on the bench loads. So if Arteta's really struggling to get him in, if Odegaard's playing really, really well and all that, and he's struggling for minutes, then I wouldn't be totally against it. But ideally, no. Ideally, Arteta just manages him really, really well this season. He gets loads of minutes. He's happy. He's rotating well with Martin Odegaard. He's producing on the pitch. So is it likely? Is it more likely, with Eze? Probably a little bit. I still think, though, that the two of them are going to be playing on different sides of the pitch, ultimately. Eze will be given freedom to roam, but I do think when he is set up on the pitch, he'll either be on the left-hand side of the attack or he'll be sort of playing a little bit more left centrally. And we know that Ethan's more of a right-sided option in terms of Arteta's mind. So it's just another number. It's another player in a sort of attacking midfield position. So ultimately, it's not going to help Ethan get minutes, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think a lot of it depends on how many minutes Ethan's get. But Arsenal are going to very, very carefully sort of manage his situation over the next few years, no doubt about that, because they definitely want to get him the minutes that he needs. And that's it from me today, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're going to the game today, enjoy it. It's going to be a hell of a day. Hopefully, we still get the Eze announcement that we're all craving for today, and we get the big unveiling on the pitch, and we get a brilliant 3 points, and everyone's buzzing, and I'm popping up on here tomorrow morning in a very, very happy mood talking about a good Arsenal win. Come back to this video after the game. I doubt I'll do a player ratings game after the game today. So come back to this video after full time if you want to get involved in tomorrow's show. Give me your thoughts on the game, who impressed you, all that sort of stuff, and I'll pull them together and get them included in tomorrow's show. Until then, have a great day, everyone. Speak to you soon. Come on, the Gunners. Bye-bye.